Good morning. Today we're with Luke Ford, the CEO of My Computer Works, and we're going to talk about raising capital. I'm Josh Farley, president of Redline Electric and Solar. Join me as we talk to contractors, business owners, and experts who are willing to share their experiences to help you overcome obstacles when you're taking your business up and to the right. Luke, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
Happy
great.
to be here.
I'm on the left side today.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Is it the left for them, or no? It's a problem.
There you go.
Tell us what you do and who you do it for.
So first of all, I'm the CEO of My Computer Works, and we provide consumer tech support and basically in-home tech support. So throughout the nation, there are people that work from home, maybe older folks that want to basically keep their computer going, stay involved in life, or families that just want their computer protected. And we provide tech support for the home, but we do it remotely. So we built a call center here in Phoenix, and when people have problems with their computer, they pick up the phone, they give us a call, and we connect to them and help them out. So we're through all 50 states. We have about 10,000 customers that basically use us for tech support. That's what we do.
Wow, 50 states. Now, outside of online, what if they have a problem that's in their house? How do you figure that out?
So most of the time we can help them out remotely.
You just tell them to set the reset
yeah,
button?
Well, I wish it was. That's the first step. The first step is hit power off, power on.
Right. Reset it.
But no, the reality is many times we actually have people that need on-site support, and so we have a network of technicians throughout the country that if the customer actually does need on-site support, we can dispatch a technician and get them out there either that afternoon or the next morning. So we do remote and on-site, but the majority of our work is remote.
Gotcha. That's got to be quite the ordeal. You must have a handful of great project managers for sure.
Yeah, no, we basically have two different types of organizations. We have the call center techs, and then we have project managers that manage all those techs that go on site.
Gotcha. Okay. So thinking about when you first started, tell us how My Computer Works became,
okay.
And where was the vision from, and what was your background?
Sure. So first of all, I'm not technical, believe it or not. I worked for IBM for many years, and when I got my first PC...
Wait.
What?
You're not technical, but you worked for IBM.
Well, I was a sales guy, right?
Oh, okay.
So basically, I'm probably more technical than most, but I couldn't fix a computer.
Right.
So the reality is, my wife and I got our first PC long time ago, and in 1994, and we couldn't figure out how to get it online. We couldn't figure out how AOL, and then we had Yahoo, all these things we didn't know how to deal with. And candidly, it got very frustrating. We've been married 27 years. This was a big fight for us, trying to figure out how to get this to work.
Right.
And I said to myself, someday there needs to be a company that can remotely connect to PCs and just help guys like me do this. And so that's how the idea germinated, was from the fact that I needed this help.
Find a need, fill a need.
Find a need, fill a need. And so 10 years later, I started the company 11 years later. And the reason I started it 11 years later is because it's important to start a company when the market is ready for that service. The content wasn't important back then. People didn't have high speed back then. PCs had not yet proliferated the home. So we waited until 2005 to start the company.
Nice. So you have the idea. You're ready to go. I mean, you start with one customer. How did I
actually get the thing started?
Where did it start?
Well, I wrote a check for $10,000 to the bank to open up the account and open up the company.
So that puts you ahead of most people out there starting out.
Yep. So I worked for 15 years, so
right.
I had a little capital to start the business. So that's how I started the company. Hired my first technician, and I went door to door selling the service. So literally knocking on doors, calling real estate agents, trying to just build enough revenue. And if you recall, this is and I didn't mention it, this is a recurring revenue kind of business model where people have memberships to our service. So once I started getting a little bit of momentum with people loving our service, then it was all good. And actually, I did beta test it with about 50 or 60 households to see if people liked it, why would they call us, whether it was a really good idea or not. And so that's really how we started it, literally going door to door to real estate agents, getting them to use our service. And then word of mouth started building up a little bit. So employee number one was actually a technician, not me, because I didn't pay myself, for the first period of time until the revenue started coming in.
So you got a recurring model.
Yep.
And then when did the capital? When did you look for investment?
So pretty early on.
What was the pain? Why did you go? Was it just not scaling as fast as you wanted?
Yeah, well, this was back in 2005, and there was a lot of opportunity to grow quickly in this space. I felt that this market was going to be very important obviously tech in home, right? I mean,
Right.
of course it is, right? So I wanted to figure out, okay, how can I grow my business and own market share very quickly before other people get in? So the vision behind that, raising capital, was, okay, let's get capital so that we can get in the marketplace, we can pay for marketing, we can get out there and get known before other people get out there and get known. So that's really why a lot of people raise capital, at least in my circumstance, is that I wanted to get some market share and get out there before other people did. I think there may have been one or two other companies that did what I did when I started the company. So I wanted to get out there and get my name known.
Okay, so with risk there is reward. So you took a risk and now you're rewarded. The reward outweighed the risk.
Well, we're not sure yet.
You're still going.
We're not sure yet.
Let's think about my business. I grew up, if I wanted something, I had to save for it. You know, that was that was my mentality. That was what I was taught. If you wanted something, you got to save for it. I thought about raising capital or getting a line of credit to do things with my business, but it always scared me. What if I can't pay it back, or what if tomorrow it all goes? I break my leg, or
so there are a couple ways to raise capital, and you can obviously do it through equity. You can give it through debt. Or raising capital through cash flow, right? I mean, that's really the third way to raise capital, and that's how most people raise capital.
That's how I do it, yeah.
Right? And so as much as I actually do have the experience of raising capital through equity and through debt, I think my challenge is that I really should have been more of a bootstrap organization and just said, you know what, the market will be there when I'm ready, when I get there. And so if I had to do this in hindsight, I might not have raised as much equity capital as I had. And so the reality is raising equity is a full-time job. So what ended up happening was I was busy raising capital, right, and then trying to execute it into the company, when maybe I should have just taken the time to really focus on the business, or maybe somewhere in the middle. Most people that are small like I was, raising equity is normally a friends and family kind of thing. So you go into your network and you basically say, hey, look, I'm raising capital. I want to give you ownership of the company. I'm valuing the company at this level. And then you go and you basically create it's called a PPM. You create it with legal team, and then you go raise your capital. And so you raise $250,000 or $500,000, and that usually gets the company to a point, or hopefully will get the company to a point where it takes off. And maybe can start funding itself, or gets big enough that real serious money will come and say, okay, you've proven it, now let's take it to the next level.
So it's kind of like a Shark Tank environment.
It really is. It really
go in,
is.
you gotta sell it to yourself more than you gotta sell it to them, right?
I mean, and really the truth is, in hindsight, I think I have a pretty good idea of why people invest, and really truly, I believe they invest in the person. Is that person passionate? Are they not going to give up? Right. Are they going to pivot if the idea isn't perfect? Those are the kind of things I think people really invest in, and that's why I was the guy presenting, not other people, because I wanted them to see that in my eyes, I'm going to make this thing happen no matter what.
Well, and that's because an idea, no matter how good it is, it has to be, somebody's got to be responsible. Somebody's got to be accountable for taking that idea and making it become real life.
And I can tell you, I'll be candid. There are many times that this company shouldn't have existed. I mean, we really struggled for the first about 5 to 8 years. And, we just powered through it. And probably that obligation to those equity investors is one of the primary reasons that I didn't hang up my cleats, because I just knew that I owed it to them to give them every ounce of blood that I had to see if we could make this thing happen.
And it worked.
It's
working.
No, it's working.
It's working.
No, we're real happy.
So if you had to go back, what would you do different? Would you still raise capital? Would it be maybe not as much? Would it be from a different source?
I think if I would go back, I would have raised capital. Maybe I would have tried to not raise as much. I would have been a lot more frugal on expenses. I would have been a lot more serious about bootstrapping, even though I thought I was.
Right.
I really thought I was. In hindsight, maybe I could have just been even more diligent. The one thing would have been a mindset. If I would have changed anything is, I think the problem with guys that raise capital, they think, okay, I'm going to be the next Google or Amazon or whatever, or I'm going to be out of business. Well, guess what? There is a middle road, right? You can actually create a business with value that can give return to your shareholders, that maybe not be the next, $100 million or $200 million or $1 billion company.
Right.
And I think those expectations might have been better to set with myself and my investors. Like, hey, there is an option 3. You can be successful at a different pace.
Right.
And I think I read a book the other day that said something to the effect of, Entrepreneurs read about all these, really great Snapchat or Groupon or whatever
Uber.
it is, Uber,
Right.
and those are like winning the lottery. Right. And so those are out there. So entrepreneurs still play the game,
and even some of the big ones, 20 years before they become overnight success. You got a 20-year overnight success. I mean, that's typical in the market.
Yeah. Most of the time when people raise capital and they grow. You're right. You don't even hear about them until 10 years,
right?
And that's giving me some hope because I'm just over 10 years.
Right.
So the reality is, I think that's very true. Is that people don't recognize that there was owners in a garage for 5-10 years, trying to make this thing work before the marketplace knew about it.
I started in my garage.
Yeah,
that's where it started.
absolutely.
So let's switch gears a little bit. So back when you first had the idea, the internet, the computers were all kind of new. Now I've got a 9 and a 12-year-old that can get on, that know how to fast forward YouTube with the swipe of the screen. I just found that out this morning. Right. I mean, these guys are tech kids.
Right.
So how do you change your model knowing that your clients are almost creating? I mean,
are my techs.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the deal. This is something that most people don't take the time to think about, but I do. Because it's my business. When you're about 22 years old to 25 years old and you become an adult, well, I think now adults are now 35, but
right.
When I was a kid, it was 22 or when you became an adult. I think what you don't realize is you stop learning about technology when you're about 22. So if you really think about that, I would say that my son, who's 25, is busy making a living. Right. He's busy doing his thing, right? He's busy being an adult. So the new technology that's being introduced already, only at 25,
right?
He doesn't know it. Like, he doesn't play on the quote new social medias that the teenagers are doing because guess what? He's busy making a living. So what I think people don't recognize is, yes, you're going to use them. What's really cool is the generation is tech dependent, not tech savvy.
Right.
And so what happens, do your kids know how to write code? No. Do your kids know how to clean out a virus out of the computer? Probably not.
No.
Right? But are they dependent on that technology?
For sure, 100%.
Right?
I mean, if there's no Wi-Fi around, they don't know what to do.
What are you going to do? And
right.
how, do your kids really know how to go into the router, check the settings, see what's going on? No, but if it goes down, God help everybody. So for me, I think what people don't recognize is in your early 20s, you start learning the new technology that's coming out because you're busy making a living, having kids, doing the things that you need to do. And oh, by the way, the new generation is even more dependent on technology.
Right.
So that's why we feel like, so 2 years ago, we didn't support mobile phones or smartphones. Today, we have about 1,500 people that pay us $9.95 to be the help desk around their mobile device. Now, your kids
live off of my mobile.
Right, but your kids would be like, why would anybody pay for that? That's the weirdest thing ever. But I have all these older folks that are like, oh my God, sign me up because I don't know how to use this thing.
Right.
So that's what people just don't recognize is that, your kids, when they're 40, the new technology, they're going to say, well, how does this widget work?
Right.
And they're just not going to know.
And then you're going to be companies like yourself or your company
I'm going to be retired
now.
when your kids are 40, I hope.
You should be. Hopefully I will be too. You think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to evolve as your customers evolve.
Sure.
So for me, it's like electrical service. Obviously, everybody's going to use electricity one way or another.
Sure.
But how do I find a new need that I'm not looking at now, so I can evolve and I can beat my competition to it? So you're evolving as your customers evolve.
Sure.
As new technology comes through. So thinking about evolving, how are you raising capital, or what are your next steps for your company?
First of all, I'm done raising capital.
Right.
I'm done raising capital. The company's making money. We're growing. We're probably on track for 20% year-over-year growth. We're probably going to do it again next year. We're making a decent net income, so things are looking good right now.
Okay, so now you got some money in the bank.
Yep.
So let's take my company. I've got some money in the bank. Now I want to get bigger. How do I do that?
Well, I think the reality is everything that we as business owners, let's say we have $250,000 in retained earnings that's maybe a little bit not being used. So when you have capital not being used, that's a problem. Right, you either take it out and go invest it yourself,
or it just makes you feel good having it in the bank.
Well, but there's only so much you should have, right?
Yep.
So the reality is every business owner should take a look at the capital that they have. Okay, well, how much capital I need on hand, right? And that's depending on comfort level, depending on recurring revenue. You can have a little less. I mean, it just depends. There's a lot of factors there on how much money you should have on hand. But let's assume that you have more than you actually need on hand. Do you take it as a distribution or do you reinvest it? And that's kind of a personal answer, right? I can't answer that for people. But what I would say is it's important to understand where you're going to invest, what the return on investment of that investment is going to be. So when I have extra capital, what I'll say is, okay, which marketing channel am I going to go after? And the reason I do that, because my issue is not cleaning up my infrastructure. My issue is not cleaning up my operations. My issue is maybe not balance sheet issues. My issue is, okay, where am I going to invest to grow revenue?
Right.
Okay, that's where I'm going to apply my capital. Now I ask a question. Is it going to be a new product development so my current customers maybe could take advantage of a new product? Well, what's the ROI on that new product development? Or do I go after new marketplaces? Or do I just saturate for more brand awareness? Or do I hire salespeople? Or do I do digital media marketing or whatever, right?
Right.
So to me, that use of capital is basically depends on what the greatest ROI on that investment is, and it just depends by business. It depends. Some businesses have, well, if I automate, I can improve my gross margin. I don't have a revenue issue. I have a gross margin issue. So what can I invest in to lower my cost of goods sold so that maybe I could actually get more profit out of the company? So it really is sort of dependent on the company. So for me, for example, if I have extra capital, for me it's all about getting brand awareness and getting out there in the marketplace so more people will buy my services.
Right.
So for me, it's revenue growth.
Yep.
So that's where I would put my investment capital. But I think it just kind of depends on what the business need is for that particular company.
I think that's where I'm at right now. So when I started, it was small. I built it up, and then I got to a plateau, and I'm like, how am I going to raise my bottom line? So I started to automate and look at the process, maybe set some things, change some things on my cost of goods sold or my expenses. So that allowed me to get a little bit more capital, and now I'm at the point where I need to raise the top line.
Okay.
I'm looking to grow my business.
Right.
But nobody knows the next step. Like next step is.
It's actually the next step should be pretty. I mean this is.
And maybe I do know it. Maybe we all know it. And we just don't realize it.
Or we don't have the courage to do it sometimes, which is really what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs.
Right. Because
you make it to a certain level, and you're like, okay, life is good. I don't want to change. Life is good. I don't want to change. And then we get, wait a second, are we really just want to be here? That's fine. That's a lifestyle business.
Right.
But then the question is, okay, do I have the courage to take the risk to get to the next level? And I think that that's what we all have to look at in the mirror and say, okay, am I taking that risk? And by the way, why do you think companies buy companies? Right? The idea of acquiring a competitor is really a good idea if you think about the ROI. So you say, okay, what if I acquire this company for $100,000? What's the recurring rev? What's the customer base? How much revenue am I going to get? What's the profit? That might be a better idea than advertising on Google or what. So when it comes to use of capital to grow your business, or for me to grow my business, I've been looking at companies to buy recently, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it'd be just cheaper to go ahead and buy some companies and take the recurring revenue than it would be to go invest in.
Well, and you
marketing.
already have the systems in place, the process, the structure behind it.
Right.
So really, what would it change? No, that's a great idea.
And so so when you go acquire customers, what are you really doing? You're taking more revenue, which creates more gross profit, which then hopefully your fixed costs don't go up, which should drop to the bottom line.
Right.
So the model to determine whether you should buy a company or not is actually pretty simple, and the ROI calculations are actually fairly simple. It's the risk of the execution that matters.
Right. Well, that's the risk, and that's what it is. It's like I've never borrowed money to do anything because of the risk. I've always worried, but that's how I was brought.
Which is smart. I mean,
it's smart.
I wish I was in your shoes right now because I've got a little debt I have to pay back, and I've got equity investors that are looking for returns.
Yep.
Now, in some respects, that motivates me. So it's not all bad that you have equity investors over your shoulder because it makes you get up in the morning.
Right. I get it. Getting capital, it scares me. Taking the next step scares me. But that's what you got to do. Buying a business is a great idea, especially if you already have a system and process in place and the infrastructure to handle that. I mean, if we could acquire a business with more customers, that's really what we need. Yep. You answered a ton of questions that I had. I don't know anything about that, and it's given me ideas to take back and implement in my business, which is why we're here, to grow our businesses. If you guys are interested in getting in touch with Luke, how do we do that?
Candidly, just type in My Computer Works. My Computer Works is the name of my company. Just type it in Google. We probably own the first 2 pages of Google. So if you type in My Computer Works, you're going to see who we are, where we're about, and how to get a hold of us. Obviously, we have Facebook and Twitter and all those other ones. But if you just go to Google, type in My Computer Works, you'll find us for sure.
Great. Do you have an offer for our guests?
Yeah, sure. If people mention this program, it's up and to the right. I will go ahead and waive our activation fee, which is $70. Again, we have a membership program because really we're here to help people use their computer, not just a one-time fix. And so at the end of the day, people sign up and then they use our service ongoing. So $70 is the activation fee. And candidly, if anybody wants to try this service and after a month you're like, this isn't for me, they can cancel anytime. We don't hold people to a contract. We don't say you have to be with us. So it's one of those things where just try us out. If you love it, then we'll be there for you.
Great. Recurring revenue model.
That's right.
We'll get them in on another episode to talk about that. Today's entrepreneurism is find a need, fill a need. Luke, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe to our podcast at iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to see more episodes. Go to upandtothe right.org to get all the links.